Speaking of sparing our hearing, I'm about to ramble, so I guess it's my turn for
no.
this.
I
So.
thought for some odd reason this was going to lead into like a sponsored. Speaking of hearing,
Oh,
No,
Raid
no,
Shadow
no.
Legends.
Raid
No.
Shadow Legends.
No.
Have you guys heard of Audible?
No free
no,
no free ads. No.
Free content, baby. No
Have you heard of
interruptions.
Honey?
Have you heard of Dollar Shave Club? But yeah, free content, one take, no ads. That's us. But anyway.
What about MeUndies? Sorry.
We can name sponsors all day.
Tyler, your room's looking dull. How about I hit you with 1-800-flowers.com?
Liven it up, you know.
Earth Day just passed.
Birthday did just pass. I am now 19 and I am ancient.
Oh, don't even get me started, bud.
I feel ancient and I don't know. Maybe it's just because my bones crack with every step I take. But anyway.
Riley knows if you played high school football, every time you like take a step up a stair, something cracks.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh yeah, you too.
And my ankles just are shot.
It's crazy. It really is. We can talk about that on another podcast, though. Tyler,
how about it?
How's your game?
Yeah, my game. Okay, so my game is more of a proof of concept than anything. It's an idea that I've had in my head for a few years, but I've never exactly known how to put it. It's just been a concept. It's not like I've like thought out every single aspect of the game.
I was about to say, you have to like pull out a whiteboard that's been in your closet for like 3 years. You're like, I got it.
I have a few ideas, gentlemen.
I put out a whole textbook. But yeah, no. I want my game to be centered around music. And I don't mean I just want it to have a good soundtrack. I want the gameplay itself to be centered around music. So I was inspired by this animation channel on YouTube that I've watched for a long time called Hyun's Dojo. And they have these videos on their channel where it's basically a fight scene, but each attack that is thrown out is synced to the background music. So the battle's pace and like the moves they throw out are all like synced up to the beat of the music in the background.
So the concept's like Cadence of Hyrule.
I actually referenced that here.
Okay.
Cadence of Hyrule has a similar idea where I'm not sure if you need to move to the beat of the song.
I think it's the movement.
I was about to say, is like you have to follow the beat of the song in order to move?
Yes.
Is that what Cadence is? Okay, I didn't know if it was like...
Yeah, that's its gimmick.
Okay, so like you need to, in order to move from tile to tile in that game. Cadence of Hyrule, in case you guys don't know, it's a spin-off Zelda game that was... Actually, no, I think it's DLC for a game called Crypt of the Necrodancer, where it was like, I guess Nintendo gave them the rights to use their characters in this game. It's basically a top-down perspective, and it's like a tile-based flooring where if you can move and perform actions to the beat of the song in order to progress in the game. Now, I wanted that idea is similar to what I want to do, but not exactly the same, because I feel like I don't want the player to be that restricted to the music aspect of it, you know? Because you know, in certain movies and shows, the music in the background just kind of highlights what's going on, and you know,
right.
Like in Marvel movies is an easy example. They have really epic fight like soundtracks in the background, especially in Endgame, where there's just whole band ensembles building up, and the tension is just real with that music. And I've said this before on the podcast that I think a game's soundtrack and the music that it has can elevate it up a few points in my head, like regardless of whatever else it is. So I kind of wanted to there were a few ideas. My first one was...
Oh, now? Yeah. I thought you record Monday.
Hang on. I seem to have some... Okay.
You can keep going. Hang on.
Okay, we'll keep going. Okay. So my first idea for how I wanted to make this game was maybe a fighting game where each player has to match movements to the beat of the song in order to throw out attacks effectively. And then the whole skill level of the game would be whether you can keep up with the beat of the song as well as your opponent. And then if your opponent, like say you drop like a note or something, or drop something and you mess it up, then your opponent has a chance to get a combo on you or something like that. Obviously inspired by the literal fight scenes that were animated on this channel that I watched. So I figured that might be one way to get it done. But I also figured that would be, there wouldn't be enough content in that game that I would want. And I feel like, again, it'd be a little too restrictive. So I was thinking more of a third-person action game, kind of like Trials of Mana. I have now been inspired by that game. I've been playing it since yesterday. It's very good. But where it's like a third-person game where your moves, like the combos that you can pull off, are... I hear myself echoing in someone's...
Yes, I do as well.
Okay.
I know who it is, too.
Uh-oh. It's all good. But...
And I hope.
Okay, I think we're good. It's all good. But yeah, I think a third-person action game would be good where if you synchronize your movements to the song that's playing in the background, that's how you get more damaging combos, or that's how you get longer combos, or that's how you get bigger damage multipliers. And basically, I just want the player to kind of like feel like what they're doing and the music in the background are connected in such a way where it just feels like it's a nice flow of the action, Like all your actions feel really fluid when they're in time to the music, and then the music can dynamically change throughout the level. So that's kind of what I want to do. I want to incorporate the music more into the gameplay without it being too restrictive for the player.
Right.
So, I don't think there should be a penalty for you, not keeping as in time with the music. But there should only be like positives if you do,
Right. Yeah.
But then again, that brings up the question, like, what's the point of even having the music in there if the player can just ignore it the whole time? So there would have to be some sort of way to balance that out. Like maybe there are some sections that require you to perform certain actions or attacks in time with music. Maybe in like boss fights, that could be like, there could be certain like, I guess it would replace QuickTime events, but you just have a certain window where you would have to kind of conform to the soundtrack in the background.
Right.
So I guess I would make the whole game kind of themed around like enemies would be like music themed. Obviously I don't know a lot about music theory or anything like that. This is just a cool concept that I thought I'd want to implement. But I think like, I'm not sure what setting it would be. I'd probably put it in like modern setting. Maybe have your character be this agent for some sort of undercover like FBI agency. Something similar. I remember I talked about this game as well on the podcast. I think it was Katana Zero, where you're this kind of like rogue samurai, but in like a normal sort of world with guns and stuff. It's like, and you have to fight people just with your sword.
Right.
But at the beginning of every level, he puts in headphones and like on his little Walkman, and then that's the music that plays in the background of the level. I think it'd be something like that, where you just have this really cool, like charismatic secret agent guy who pops in his headphones and just proceeds to freaking dominate any opposition in his way.
Would master mode be that you just do Skrillex for the entire story?
It's just through the fire and the flame starts playing.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, it's hard for me to kind of express how I want this game to be, but I hope I'm doing some semblance of a good job.
Wait, so would you have to like break out a dance move to attack? Right? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Like,
I don't.
I'd have to hit the melee rock and then attack. Right? Is that-
I mean, you can obviously have stylish moves to go along with the music,
Right.
which I believe would be kind of like a nice sort of theme. But basically, I just want you to be able to throw out attacks in the time, like in time with the beat of the music,
Okay.
in order to like rack up combos or get stronger uh, like damage
Right.
multipliers or do crazier like attacks. Like say, if you perform certain actions in time with the music, and they're all attacks, when you get to a certain point, you'll just throw out like this really huge attack, and the music will like shift to this really epic crescendo as you do this big attack to like this group of enemies, and then go back to its normal beat that you can follow as normal.
Right.
And I also feel like you could either one follow the beat of the song, or like say you could try and perform your actions in time with like the vocals of the song if we have like songs with actual vocals. So you could have like multiple fighting styles or beats that you could follow in the same song. I feel like in that way.
Yeah.
So obviously this is so this would be pretty ambitious. You'd have to again strike a nice balance between not restricting the player to conform to this beat, to this music gimmick every time, but also making it. I just feel like you have to make it feel good to perform these actions. So I think like the sound design in this game obviously would have to be top notch. Like every hit would have to feel like appropriate for the type of attack you're doing. And I don't know, it's just an idea that I had in my head. It's kind of hard to explain without showing the videos that inspired me to think of this idea. But
Yeah.
So, I guess from what I'm hearing, I used to play a game on the PSP back when it was a huge thing. It was a game called Potapon, and
Okay.
it was like a 2D side-scrolling game, but it would follow like a 4-beat like sequence, and like you'd press 4 different buttons in order to perform like an action. So
okay.
like at least on like the PlayStation, it'd be square, 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 circle would be for you to move forward, and like
Okay.
different combinations like that. And that, like as you were explaining it, that's kind of what got me thinking of it. And like
Yeah.
I recently got back into that because they remastered it on the PlayStation 4.
All right.
But like even though the music doesn't really change, it still follows the 4-beat sequence, and you're just repeating like the attack combination or the movement or like a shield combination or something to that
Yeah.
effect. And like if I was listening correctly, like that's kind of what you want to do, but instead have like a third person omniscient like fighting-esque kind of like feel to it.
Yeah, because I kind of want for the movement, you're able to move freely. Like you're
Okay.
able to move your character freely around in the 3D space without having to conform to the music. Kind of what I'm thinking is that you have a bar on the top of the screen, and you have like, the beat going by. Like you can see where you would be able to press buttons in order to start
Right.
being in time with the beat. Of course, I feel like there'd be a line for vocals, and then there'd be a line for, the beat section, kind of like overlaying each other. So like you could move freely, and that bar would just be going by continuously as the music played in the background. And you can jump on to the beat whenever you want. Like you can start performing actions to the beat whenever you want in order to build up combos and things like that.
Okay.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like maybe you could add some platforming elements in there where akin to maybe Sonic's homing attack from his games, you'd have to perform certain actions to get across gaps perhaps, or defeat certain enemies by doing it at certain times of the beat, something along those lines. Again, that's kind of my thought process of trying to balance out try not to restrict the player to like they have to
Right.
follow the beat, but also
Right.
incorporating it into the gameplay where necessary to make sure that it's not just a mechanic in the background that you don't use at all.
Right.
So I want like flashy combos. I want them quick. Have you guys played either one, the Batman Arkham games, or two, the Spider-Man PS4 game?
Yeah, both actually.
Yeah.
That is what I'm thinking of, like for combat. So a combat
Okay,
style similar
yeah.
to those, but instead of just like throwing out regular combos, you're doing it in time with the music, which I think would make the player. I just think it would make the player feel cool.
Yeah.
But also, you'd be rewarded for doing that with longer combo strings and stronger attacks and things like that. So
I
that's
have a
kind of what I'm thinking.
DLC. I have a DLC for you if you want it.
What's that?
So we take Riley's video game concept, we bring it into your games, and instead of the music, you have to match it up with TikTok dances.
Oh, this is just the next version of Dance Dance Revolution.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my lord.
And the combat is you have to match it up with TikTok dances. And the more
Oh,
obnoxious the dance, the more points you get, and the higher combos and stuff you can do.
Would you be able to do like Fortnite dances for like cheat codes? And
Yes. Yes. No,
Fortnite
you
mode.
lose. You inflict damage upon yourself if you do Fortnite dances.
shit? Like you do if you floss in the game, you unlock Moon Jump.
Yeah, but you also lose like 50 HP.
You lose like half of your hearts.
Yes, instantly.
Oh my.
Crit
That's-
damage.
Critical damage to yourself.
Tyler inflicted 50 damage upon Tyler.
But yeah, I feel like I probably should have started off with this. I want like a combat style like Arkham Knight or the Spider-Man games, but with this musical element that sort of enhances your combos if you do your actions to the beat of the song, mixed in with some platforming elements as you go through levels and things of the sort. I could, and also I said before, like this would be maybe like setting wise, it would be in modern times with like a secret agent techie feel. But I could also see this working in a variety of other like, other settings, which obviously could be different levels if we want to have a diverse setting. But yeah, that's the basic gist of what I want my game to be.
I like it.
It reminds
you.
me of that movie Baby Driver. Have you guys seen
That is exactly what I was going to bring up too. I completely forgot it until you said that. I was thinking about it before I got on the call. Baby Driver has sequences where you have like gunshots and car shifting and all sorts of things, but that's always done to the beat of the song that's playing in the background, which I think is really cool. And it kind of does exemplify, kind of the concept that I would want to incorporate into a video game. So.
Right.
That was a really good movie, though.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot.
God, Baby Driver was a good movie. But
so would like the main character would just be like before he you said he'd put like headphones in or something like that? Like
yeah, I'd say like there'd be no music to start the level, but then he'd be scrolling through his phone.
He'd double tap his AirPods.
He'd double
and go.
and then he'd go. And then I'd say that like again, going back to Arkham Knight and the Spider-Man game, I don't think that this person would have any like crazy powers. I feel like he'd be mostly martial arts, probably some weapons he could pick up to change the fighting style a little bit. But that's the kind of fighting style that I'm thinking of as well. So
right.
So yeah, I think that's everything I had on that game for me. Oh damn!
Questions.
We're already an hour in, boys. This is great.
Tyler, we have a 2.5-hour episode. Do we really care about time anymore?
That was like episode 1.
Hey, now, no, it wasn't.
To be fair, that is our most viewed episode. So
it is. That it is. Damn, I had a question about your game, but is there is there a story? Like, is the story linear?
Yeah, I was about to say the story would be pretty simplistic. I think that way as to not take away from the unique gimmick that I kind of want to put into the forefront.
So your main focus is displaying the gameplay, like the presentation of the gameplay.
I feel like the gameplay, the gimmick would lend itself to kind of some subtle world building, obviously, because I feel like the protagonist himself would be like a music junkie, which is why this whole series of events is happening anyway with his whole headphone thing. Again, obviously you could probably tell that the story and the characters are pretty vague. I'd kind of like it to be like a Mario game in that respect, where it has a defined gameplay style that you play because it has unique settings and gameplay obstacles and unique ways to overcome them. So that's what I'm thinking there. Kind of like a not very story heavy, but very stylized, gameplay focused sort of thing.
Okay.
Right. Dude, what a flex that'd be though. Like you're getting ready to fight some guy and you're just like, wait, hold on. And the main character's like put headphones in and
You
just
just put on your
beats the
damn
living crap
beats.
out of him.
I mean, I'd
Yeah.
say that maybe there could be like sort of an explorative aspect to this game where you could go around
Right.
and find hidden items to customize your character, maybe get new sets of headphones or new clothing options that maybe reflect different types of music genres.
Yeah,
I feel like that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep us, a theme of music going throughout. Now, obviously, again, like I said, I'm not the biggest music junkie. I do listen to a lot of genres. I wouldn't want it to have like just one genre of music in this game. I want it to be like a variety. Like you'd have some hip hop. I feel like you could do something cool with jazz in this fighting
definitely.
style. It'd be like maybe a smoother, more slow paced, more like evasive fighting style. And maybe that is this person's sort of quirk. Their fighting style changes based on what kind of music they're listening to.